Hey everybody, I am AR Mar, and what I watched today is Reboot, Season 3, Episode 2, Between a Raccoon and a Hard Place. This episode starts off in a really dark place, with the user winning a game. Enzo was blocked from entering by Megabyte and his goons. And right after this happens, Megabyte promptly attacks the sector and seizes it for himself. Our hero is just unable to stop the sheer numbers that Megabyte has under his command. Naturally, Megabyte terrifies the citizens into handing over their ID codes to him, and we get to see the first piece of anti-Enzo propaganda. This season is already a stark contrast from the last, which, after every disaster, returned to the status quo thanks to Bob. Well, now Bob is gone, and Megabyte is slowly but surely removing the status quo. Our heroes have almost no resources, and are fighting a guerrilla war against the well-equipped virus. I love it. While the show before was a great adventure, it's now great in different ways. It gives us stakes and makes it clear that our heroes have a long road ahead of them. After some discussion between the characters, Mouse shows her brilliance once again by reformatting her and Andrea's icons into standard sprite ones, meaning it should be safe for them to enter games and they can reboot now. Naturally, this tech is untested, but it's still a clever move and one that dramatically increases Enzo's allies. We have a couple check-ins here. First with Dot to confirm she does indeed have a plan for the next game, and second to Megabyte as he advises his troops to stop Enzo, but whatever they do, they can't kill Enzo. They don't want to make Enzo into a martyr, they want to humiliate him. And then we see Dot's plan, and it is pretty awesome. Dot filling the sky with hundreds of decoys to help the real Enzo along with Andrea and a Mouse pass the blockade. However, as they reach the game, Andrea pulls a fast one on Mouse, ensuring that it's only her and Enzo who make it in. And when they get into the game, we shift back to Megabyte and find out what he's been up to since the attack. Turns out, he's been playing nursemaid to his dear sister, and all he asks in return is her total obedience. He's even given her a handy collar to help her, keep her promise, as it were. Now, there's a control on his arm, and anytime Hex does something he doesn't like, apparently he can just shock her and shut her down. Oops. Sorry, Hex. You're apparently Megabyte's toy now. We'll see how that works out later. Back in the game, we find out in short order that it's a Looney Tunes ripoff. The Rabid Raccoon, Rocky. Kind of feels to me like a mix, like of Bugs Bunny and Wile E. Coyote. And it looks kind of amusing. That out of the way, our heroes finally reboot. Andrea becoming a kick-ass biker babe. And Enzo, well, he'll catch that wascally Racoon. The game's logic even works like a classic cartoon, with the road being kicked up, and Enzo setting off a Rube Goldberg-style sequence that ends up launching a ton of fireworks. One of which does manage to kill the user. Naturally, though, this is one of the new games where the user has lives, so they're not out of the woods yet. We return momentarily to Dot as Mouse fills them in on what Andrea did to her. At first, Dot is angry and suspicious, but she calms down a bit when Fawn reminds her Andrea's an ally who loves Enzo. She wouldn't do anything to hurt Enzo, and they'll find out her reasons for what she did when the time comes. So, we're back to usual Fawn wisdom, with the added bonus that he didn't make her play Pong with him first. You got a bonus there, what, Dot? We return to the game, and Enzo's struggling, partly because the binomes in the game keep refusing to follow his instructions and work with him. Until he reminds him of a blindingly obvious fact. Whether he is Bob or not, if they don't win the game, they're all deleted. Remembering this, the sprites thankfully start listening to Enzo. Working together with him, they manage to shave off another life of the users. And we get into the game's final stretch. So yeah. Turns out when you work with the Guardian, little sprite or not, instead of tearing him down, you stand a much better chance of surviving. Who knew? Following Enzo's plans, they lead the user into a trap. And Enzo wins the game. There is a kind of interesting moment where he hesitates near the end to activate the final part of the trap and run the Raccoon over with a bulldozer. And Andrea is actually the one who presses the switch. And it's mainly because Enzo is worried that her icon isn't going to work, that she'll be taken away with the game. But it does work, though they do a clever little camera trick here where For a brief moment, you can't see Andrea because she's behind Enzo. And you even have Enzo freaking out, and Andrea's like, I'm right here. It's like, it's a cute little moment, and it's kind of cool. And right as this happens, Megabyte's forces arrive to try and take over the sector and take down Enzo. But they're tricked by the same plan Dot used earlier, and this time instead of a whole bunch of like Dot and Enzo cutouts, it's a whole bunch of principal office like ship car cutouts. So naturally, Megabyte's fleet is like, the principal office has an army again, run! And it's just about a bunch of cutouts. As effective as Megabyte and his guys can be sometimes they're just idiot cartoon villains. I loved this episode. It was a lot of fun. And it's really going a long way towards setting up our new status quo and getting us firmly established in it. So yeah, I really look forward to seeing the next episode. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.